Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we got our fueling system in place here, but now we need to get our ascent module down to the surface. And I did a little bit of looking on orbits as we are passing over here, and it looks to me like these two launcher debris are basically at the perimeters of the highlands. So that's actually really interesting to me. Really interesting, because that means that we just need to land between these two debris. So, to that end, I want to do a maneuver over here, where we, pull our periapsis over to, say, here, and bring it on down to somewhere around, probably not 70 kilometers. That's probably too low. Maybe somewhere around 80, 81, perhaps? 82? You know what? Let's try 82 kilometers. We only get one try at this, really. So that's something to consider. But we're going to need to go through here and turn all of these engines on. Like so. We're going to need the thrust to weight from all of them. Did I deactivate that one? I think I did. Okay, and we'll just activate all of these engines. There we go. Oh, that was a shutdown. What one did I miss? I missed one of these. That is this one. Okay. So we'll activate that one, and we're also going to need, of course, to get these air brakes deployed at 90 degrees. That's one set. That is two sets. And finally, here's our third set. No, not you. There we go. 90 degrees, and we'll deploy that. Excellent. So, let's just go ahead and orient for this burn. And then we'll warp to it. It's a 160 meter per second burn, and it's not the most efficient of burns, but we need to get our periapsis somewhere before these, because we're going to have a lot of horizontal speed. I'm just guesstimating where we're going to put it, but it'll be around there. And we'll just go ahead and warp towards T-minus 1 second here. And we'll burn this now. Good enough? Good enough. Okay, that's great. Next, we're going to need to switch to surface retrograde. We're going to warp to about here, 12 minutes in the future. And that's because we're going to need to flip. Excellent. And let's go ahead and get that flip in. This is going to be not really super borderline on our landing profile. Ooh, solar panels. We need to get those retracted. Those will absolutely burn off if we don't get those retracted. There we go. Excellent. So we'll get that done. And let's just, at this point, let it fall on in. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to watch for this biome to switch over to highlands. The moment it switches to highlands and we get past this eastern sea chunk, that is when we're going to commit to this burn. And we're going to probably burn off at least all of our outer fuel. We may burn off our inner fuel, but I may save that until we get a little lower in the atmosphere. I'll have to think about it. Right now, I do want to pin this open, just so that I know how much fuel we have in our center core. Okay. So, we're going to be entering the atmosphere as of right about... We're not going down that fast. Right about... now. Okay. So you can see here we're starting to decelerate. This aero brake is not actually going to bleed that much in our horizontal speed. In fact, you can see here our horizontal speed is actually increasing right now. And that's because we're not very high up in the atmosphere. We're just waiting until our periapsis here. Hopefully our periapsis is... Well, actually, we're waiting until not our periapsis, but until this biome is highlands. That we want to kill our horizontal speed at that point. You can see here that our vertical speed is going down, but our horizontal speed is still increasing. However, our apoapsis is dropping, so that is a good thing. And all we're looking to do right now is use the atmosphere to our advantage. That's exactly what we're doing currently. We're not seeing any temperature issues just yet, although I suspect there will be some of those. Oh, there's some temperature issues. Okay, I'm watching those gauges to make sure that they don't go up. In the testing, it seemed like they sat at this point for a while. So we'll keep an eye on that. We're going to be at the periapsis in about 15 seconds here. And we're just keeping an eye on those temperature gauges. We want to prevent them from getting to full. Excellent. You can see here our horizontal speed is starting to decrease, but it's not very much right now. That's because we passed the periapsis, and we're going back up at this point. That's okay. We don't actually mind that, necessarily. So at this point, we are just going to let our vertical speed increase, and we're just watching for when we end up passing into the highlands, or when we need to burn because these temperature gauges are filling up, whichever comes first. We should be passing into the highlands quite quickly here, in theory. Are we going to need to do a second aerobrake pass here? No, I don't think we will. If we did, the planet would rotate too much underneath us. Oh, hello! Some of those gauges are disappearing. We're over shallows, lowlands, midlands. Those gauges are going away. Highlands. Burn. Excellent. Okay. Hold that retrograde position. Fantastic. So, we're saving the fuel in our center core for when we need a detemperature burn. Our impact biome is currently shallows. I suspect that will change. You can see here that this is continually moving this direction, and we need to land between these two. If we have to guide that with these engines, we will. Our horizontal speed is currently increasing, which isn't necessarily ideal. But we're still pretty high up. We have begun falling again, and that is the concept here. Oh, I want to change this for sure. We're going to move these guys in here. We're going to move these drogue chutes down. Okay, there we go. Fantastic. Don't want to have this staging issue. That would be a problem. So at this point, we're looking for heat. When are we going to have a heat issue? Because when we start having a heat issue, we want to start slowing down. This atmosphere is going to start getting real thick real quick. We're down below 70 kilometers. Time to burn. We're going to burn all of this fuel. Every last bit of it. Trying to slow down as much as we can right now, so we hopefully don't have any parts burn off. That's the goal here. And in fact, we are getting our speed reduced. But is it enough? I don't know. Our speed isn't coming down as fast as I'd like. Those temperature gauges are starting to get pretty full. Oh, I saw some disappear there. That's a good sign. Okay, we're starting to see some overheats here. They're kind of running around here. This one's just chilling at full. I'm not sure why, but okay. Seems to be relatively okay. Most of these are very high up, but we are through the most dangerous portion now. Wow, we actually had nothing blow up. Okay, I expected that we'd at least have a couple of these burn off. We did have successful re-entries in our testing, but this is a different re-entry profile. Currently, our impact biome is Midlands, and I strongly dislike that. I was really hoping that we would land in Highlands. But we should be pretty close to the Highlands, and we should be able to just hop over there and get the rock. It shouldn't be a big deal. Oh, hello, Highlands. It switched. That's good. That's really good. Let's get those drogue chutes out. Fantastic. And I want to get these to be deployed at around 20 degrees, I think, at this point. Because we're going to use them as makeshift landing legs. So we're going to bring them down like so. Excellent. I did expect that a couple of these would burn off, but overall we got, I think, really lucky. We had an engine sitting at full heat for a little while, and it didn't blow up. So I'm going to call that lucky. At this point, our SAS can go off. We are accelerating a little bit, but that should change as we continue to descend. Yeah, you can see here, we're starting to decelerate now. I do want to be in radar altitude mode. Let's decelerate a little bit more. I'm going to bring these up. Yeah, that's going to help. For sure. Don't want to impact at these speeds. Our other parachutes can now be deployed, and so we shall. And now that those chutes are deployed, now we want to get these set up into their kind of quasi-leg position. I think actually, maybe just a full-on undeploy. Yeah, let's just do a full-on non-deploy. And hope that we land somewhere that is, you know, reasonably flat. We are going to be in the Highlands, so that's perfect. We're pretty borderline here, but this is all we need. There go our drogue chutes deploying. Slowing us down even further. Our mains will deploy now. Slowing us down dramatically. Aw, yeah. How flat's this location? Reasonably. It's reasonably flat. Can we steer it at all? I'd like to steer it over this way if we can. We have no fuel. None at all. This was always the mission profile, of course. No, we can't really steer this at all. We just gotta hope. We just gotta hope. So yeah, this was not quite the border of the Highlands, but it was pretty close. We did manage to get into the Highlands. And honestly, the others don't have to land in the Highlands. They just have to land near to this. This looks reasonably flat here. So I'm hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful here that we're going to be able to stand upright. Fingers crossed. 6.5 meters per second means we should be completely fine on our landing, in theory. And it may slow down a little bit more as we approach the ground. SAS on. We want to be on stability assist. .4 meters per second. Okay. And this looks reasonably flat. Glorious. Here we are. This is our first ever actual landing on Eve. I mean, we landed those probes, but those were more, you know, impactors than anything else. So, at this point, let's have Jamie EVA. Hello, Jamie. You're going to grab an EVA report. Everything is tinted purple. You feel like you're changing color. We're going to keep that. We just got our world first EVA on the surface of Eve. We're going to grab a surface sample. We're going to keep that. We're going to hop in. We're going to gather everything up here. We have a lot of science that we need to do, but this is on the surface. I'm going to quick save, and we are going to hop back to the tracking station. Man, That re-entry was slightly more energetic than I was hoping for, I'll be honest. It was really borderline. Luckily, we only have to do it once. Oh, hello. This is the wrong resolution. There we go. And we are going to come on down to... We don't need to track debris anymore. We're going to come on down to our... Deployable science is the one that is, I think, most likely to not make it to a good location. Especially with how elliptical this orbit is. That's like, what's the period of this orbit? Is there not a period in this? Surely there's a period here. There's no period in this. That's kind of bonkers. Regardless, the period is going to be like... Looks like somewhere around 7 hours. Thereabouts. Well, probably a little more than that, actually. So that's going to definitely be slightly problematic for us. Our Charlie module is going to be a little easier. And our deployable module is going to be the complicated one. Our mining module, that one I think is going to be the easiest one. Let's go ahead and fly that. And of course, these are all enclosed in a fairing, so I don't think we actually have any heat issues to worry about. At all, period. Heating isn't going to be the problem. The problem is going to be hitting the target. Or close enough to the target that I don't have to spend 40 hours driving over the surface. That said, we'll have an easier time driving over the surface than we did on Gilly. Now, this is our module here. And our apoapsis is up here. So we'd want to target somewhere like... Oh, we can't do maneuvers. Right. That's going to make this really interesting. Because we're going to need radial burns here. That's going to make this really interesting. So I guess we'll warp here. And then I think we're going to want radial in... I'm always slightly confused about which is which on that. We're not going to hit super close to the module, because we're basically at the atmosphere's mercy on where we land, right? So let's go radial in quick. And let's see if that's the correct direction. We're going to need to have the periapsis be, like, way out here. I don't think that's the correct direction. Periapsis here is maybe too far. So this is going to be really interesting. Okay. We also want some retrograde here. So radial in plus prograde might be what we want, or radial out plus retrograde. I think radial out plus retrograde is what we really want here. So we're going to do that, and then radial out. And we're just going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. We have 840 meters per second. I mean, we're going to get to the surface here. The real question is... Can we get this where we need it to go? And I think the answer to that is probably yes. Or close enough. Hopefully. Let's just bring this on around. And this is way lower than we want this to be, which is why we're doing the radial out burn. Okay, so the radial out next. And we want this to be targeting around 80 kilometers, I think, and I want the periapsis about here. I'm hoping that that will get us to the actual land. This is moving a little slower than I had hoped, but that's okay. Once again, we'll get this to around 100 kilometers. And then we'll burn retrograde. And this should be our last burn here. We can do a re-entry burn. There's not going to be a ton of re-entry to do there, but... A ton of re-entry burn, I mean. But something around there will hopefully get us to where we need to go. We can always wait to do our entry burn and to deploy this heat shield until we know that we are in the correct biome, right? So we're going to do something like this. I'm going to quick save here, just in case something really weird happens, but we're going to warp forward until we're close to the atmosphere. Okay, we're going to stop this warp, and we're going to switch over to surface retrograde. Excellent. And we're just going to go until our biome looks approximately correct. That's our probe launcher there. We can see here that, I mean, our inclination is definitely a little bit off. But I don't mind a little bit of a drive. We are now officially in Atmo. And you can see here our apoapsis height is going down. That's fine. Basically everything here, I mean, we're probably going to lose these photovoltaic panels, but basically everything here is protected by our protective shell. And boy, have we paid for that one. Not being able to do... Oh, we have signal now. But not being able to do advanced probe control has definitely hurt. There's no way we can fix our inclination at this point. It pretty much is what it is. So we're just going to go until we are approximately in this correct location. I do want to be tracking this so that we have kind of ballpark ideas. We're going to be pretty far south. And we don't really have the DV to change that. That's okay. That's okay. Hopefully we don't land in the water. That's all I want. I have no idea what the shape of the land under these clouds is, though. Unfortunately, absolutely no idea. None whatsoever. So we are about 35 seconds to periapsis here. We're over Midlands, and we're still really, really far away from where we want to be. We may have to do multiple aerobrake passes here, but we don't have the Delta V to really make that happen. This is going to be very awkward. We're going to have to burn at the periapsis here and try to not get multiple aerobrake passes. Okay, well, let's burn. We only have 200 meters per second here. It might be enough. It's going to be close. Yes, we're good. No multiple aerobrake passes. We still have 32 meters per second here in this engine. So let's just make our way on up. Our apoapsis is now basically where we want to be. So time to apoapsis is about 3 minutes. We're going to be entering a sea pretty soon underneath us. We're not really seeing any heating issues currently. That will change. The aerodynamics of this are not the greatest. About 3 minutes to apoapsis here. We're still over the lowlands, and we definitely want to get over this sea that's here. No doubt about that. We're going to burn the extra 32 meters per second, jettison this, and then we're going to not extend our heat shield until we're over where we want to be. Or, well, not over where we want to be, but, you know, in the vicinity over here. So maybe like here is when we would want to fire our engines and start our heat shield. Really start that descent. You can see here our impact biome is, well, actually, we're technically not in impact mode yet. We're technically still in orbital mode. That will change quite soon. So we just lost our probe control. That's fine. We don't need it. We do not need it. And we're just using this for timing. This maneuver node that we were able to create there because we had a very brief window of probe control. We don't care about this number here. That's not relevant to us. So about 1 minute until our burn maneuver here. We're still over Midlands, which I think is interesting. I would have expected to be over the sea by now. I guess our inclination is causing that. Okay, now we're over the Eastern Sea. That's good. So we're going to burn off what we can, and we don't actually care about this necessarily. I'm just going to burn this. Oh, we can't delete it, but I'm going to burn it at the apoapsis. That's going to be close enough. So we're still over the Eastern Sea here. How close are we going to get? Not tremendously is the answer. And like I said, we're going to be at the mercy of the atmosphere. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what we can actually get done here. "20 seconds to apoapsis. We are not coming back out of this. That is for sure. We are committed. Okay. So we're going to burn this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. And that's what we got. Okay, we're going to jettison this here. Wonderful. And you can now see our heat shield here is not inflated. And that is because we're waiting until we're out from this Eastern Sea, until we inflate that, to hopefully give us the braking that we need. That's the idea here. I don't know, maybe we should inflate it now. Oh, lowlands, midlands, highlands. Inflate. I think we might still overshoot this pretty dramatically. We'll see. We're braking as much as we can, but it's not very much, in all honesty. Of course, it's more all the time. More all the time. We're still moving at 3 kilometers per second. We still have a pretty decent amount of distance to go here before we are near the ascent module. But this slowdown is not tremendously speedy. Let me put it that way. We still need this fairing, absolutely. And let's see here. I think this is not the order that we want to do this in. I think this is more like the order that we want to do this in. But we don't want to jettison our heat shield yet. That would be disastrous. We're still above 3 kilometers per second, and I'm not a fan of this. Our vertical speed is coming up, but it's not as fast as I would like. I think we're going to overshoot, but hopefully we don't overshoot into water. That's the goal here. I want to hit the same land mass. It's gonna be close. We are currently transitioning from horizontal speed into vertical, but it's not the speed I was looking for. I think we need to aim further down on our future rover landings. I think that's clear. More like 70 kilometers periapsis. Our location is getting better. It's not good under any circumstances. We are starting to see some pretty dramatic speed reductions just from the aero brake, and that's a good sign. But we need much more dramatic speed reductions here. We need to be decelerating extremely quickly at this point. We're basically over where we want to be. We're overshooting, for sure. I was afraid of that. I was definitely afraid of this. Pretty dramatic overshoot here. I'm just hoping that we can get there just by rolling over the surface at a reasonable rate. Okay, it looks like we're starting to lose attitude here. That's okay. We have our fairing. Yeah, there goes our attitude. That's actually maybe a good thing. Highlands. We know there's water, like, right here. We're only moving at 2 kilometers per second now. This one is what? What one is this? This is our mining module. So this one absolutely has to be right by the ascent module. Boy, I hope there's a land connection here. That's going to be a long trip, though. No doubt about that. A very long trip. Also, this is getting increasingly insane. At this point, however, we are safe in deploying our fairing. I'm going to wait a little longer until we're like 200 meters per second. Boom. Fairing deploy. Fantastic. And we are going to go ahead and get rid of this now that we can. We'll have full probe control. Excellent. So the next part that we want to do is we want to deploy our chutes. There go our drogues. And our main. Excellent. And where are we exactly? That's not that far away. If we set this as our target, does that actually give us an idea of where it is? No, not really. Sure. But it's going to be interesting to try to get there for sure. Absolutely for sure. We can, at this point, pretty safely ditch the heat shield, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So we will decouple this. Now, the heat shield will remain here for a while. Actually, I'm going to wait until the chutes deploy. When the chutes deploy, the heat shield should be able to spin free. In theory, without clipping our rover and destroying any important bits. So we're a ways away from impact here. Let's go ahead and physics warp down a bit. SAS does not need to be on. We're going to be landing in Midlands. And I sure do hope that we can make our way over there. Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa. That tumble, though. Can we get that under control? Please? Thank you. You know, at this point... Well, that was deeply unhelpful. Okay. Well, that was a failure. We're going to have to send another one of these mining rovers. Luckily, they're not the most expensive things in the world. They are relatively cheap to make and send out. But that definitely delays things. I clearly should not have done that. I knew there was a big possibility that it spins away with a lot of arrow forces like that. But, yeah. We learned a few things, for sure. And our other rovers, I think, are going to be more successful in targeting this area. Because I now know quite a lot that I didn't previously. But let's just go ahead and let this crash into the surface. At this point, this is a full-on failure. And it's all because I got a little bit greedy there and decided to detach the... heat shield before the parachutes had deployed. Which is absolutely not the way that we want to do that. We want to allow those parachutes to get to the ground. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, this was going to be a pretty long journey. Like, a really long journey. So if we can get a little closer, that would be for the best. But lessons have been learned. This is just going to impact into the ground. I'm going to put a cut in here. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. And I'll see you all next time when we attempt to bring down some of the other rovers.